the pious people of the time had organized themselves around the bed of Muhammad bin Uthman. And they asked him, who is the one to succeed you? And he says, the command from the Imam alayhi salam is that the deputy to succeed me is Hussein ibn Ruh. Not a question asked, not an oof from anybody. Immediately Hussein ibn Ruh, immediately Ja'far bin Ahmad moved from where he was to the feet and told Hussein, take your place at the head of Muhammad bin Uthman. And he became the deputy. In fact, without a murmur, because the confidence that the Imam alayhi salam had created in the deputies, and that the word of the deputy is a true word of the Imam alayhi salam, and there is no falsifying of even a letter from it, or even a penny from the funds of the Imam alayhi salam, that generated this type of confidence. Indeed, people went and asked Ja'far bin Ahmad, why do you think this has happened? All to instigate trouble. And he turns around to them and says, I had the greatest confidence in Muhammad bin Uthman. He would not lie, and he had no reason to appoint Hussein ibn Ruh. If anything, I had very close relationship with him. I was a close friend of him. We worked together for the Imam alayhi salam. He had more reason to appoint me than him. And so I have full confidence that the Imam appointed him. So they say, well, but why do you think the Imam alayhi salam appointed? It is disgraceful that some of our own writers today write that, it may have been for political reasons. There are no political reasons that govern the Imam alayhi salam. There is only one thing that governs the Imam alayhi salam, and that is the pleasure of Allah, the glorified and exalted. But Ja'far bin Ahmad puts in a reply himself, says, I can imagine why that happened. I am a person who meets non-Shias, and I have constant discussions with them, I have constant communication with them. And they say, yes, but Hussein ibn Ruh does exactly that. Hussein ibn Ruh was a very respected person throughout the community. He was respected even in the court, in the court of the Khalif. And hence, he too was in equal communication with non-Shias. So they said, he too is. And he says, yes, but there is a difference. When I argue with them, I get heated up sometimes. And in that heat, if they challenge the presence of the Imam alayhi salam, someday I could spurt out and say, yes, he is at such and such a place now. And you can see him now. And he could be arrested. Hussein ibn Ruh has a diplomacy that even if the Imam is hiding under his garment and they question him, he would not reveal where the Imam is. And he says that is enough in these circumstances for Hussein ibn Ruh to be appointed. It is this Hussein ibn Ruh, by the way, just to remind you what we discussed a few days back, that was approached by the father of Sheikh Sadduq alayhi rahmah to ask the Imam alayhi salam to pray that he should get a son who becomes pious and becomes learned. And that is how we get Ibn Babawayh, who ultimately wrote that authentic book of ours, one of our Sahih 4 books of the second Sahih book that we have, the one who does not have a faqih with him. And that book is a book of authority till today. After him, after Hussein ibn Ruh, came Ali bin Muhammad. But Ali bin Muhammad was there for a very short time indeed. I do not go fully into his life, but exactly those circumstances arose in his lifetime, and he was at pains also to keep generating that confidence. By then, about 70 years, maybe precisely 69 years of Ghaibat al-Sughra had elapsed. And the Imam alayhi salam made the assessment that by now my community is fully ready to understand how the Ghaibah works, to know that I am there despite the fact that they do not meet me, and they can communicate with me. And indeed, they are able to communicate with me through my agents. And so, when Ali bin Muhammad reaches a time of the termination of his life, he receives a tawqeef from the Imam alayhi salam saying, may Allah reward the Shias of the time for the grief they will have in your passing away, because you will pass away within 6 days. So 6 days notice was given to all the Shias. From now, Ghaibat al-Sughra is coming to an end, and the second Ghaibah, that is Ghaibat al-Kubra, will start. Hence, do not appoint anybody after you to be my special deputy. And the sheikhs of mine should all the time now, for any matter of religion, consult the muhaddithun, as is the word used, which is perhaps exactly the same as the fuqaha of today, to consult the scholars who know ahadith and have ilm. So to consult the ulama in respect of any matters of religion. And I will go into ghaibah, I will not be seen now until, and he says two things. He says until hearts become hard. So we have to determine whether we are already getting into the time when hearts of men are becoming hard. And secondly, Sufyani rises to create his heaven. We've discussed Sufyani yesterday, hence it was important to discuss Sufyani. And if in that period anybody claims that he sees me, then he's a liar and don't accept his word. That needs a little explanation, and this is why I raised this particular tawqeef. If anybody says that he sees me, that expression is expression written in Ghaibat al-Sughra. And as you know, in Ghaibat al-Sughra, as we've discussed, it was possible to see the Imam alayhi salam. And when it was said to see the Imam alayhi salam in Ghaibat al-Sughra, they did not see him the way we set out examples. I devoted the whole evening as to how the persons see the Imam alayhi salam. I'm using the same word see. Perhaps meet the Imam is more appropriate, but I'm using the same word that is in Tawqi, how they saw the Imam alayhi salam. But they see the Imam fleetingly. They do not see the Imam as they saw him in Ghaibat al-Sughra. In Ghaibat al-Sughra, you would go to the deputy and say, I would like to meet the Imam alayhi salam in person. He would arrange an appointment. Come to such and such a place at such and such a time. And he would only make that appointment if he is sure that this is a loyal, dedicated Shia and it is safe for the Imam alayhi salam to meet him. And then at that particular time, he would meet the Imam at an appointed hour, at an appointed place, for an appointed period. The Imam alayhi salam would answer his questions and he would go away. Today, if anybody said, I had an appointment with the Imam alayhi salam to meet him at such and such a time, at such and such a place, no, he is a liar. That is what that tawqi means. Seeing in the context which existed at the time when that letter was written, that then would be a lie. Anybody who saw him, as you have seen, has also regretted. Everybody who has seen him has had feelings. I wish I kissed his hand. I wish I could have kissed his feet. I wish I had asked him one more question that I met him. I wish I saw him for 2 more seconds than I got. But that is the fleeting way in which he meets. And these meetings are essential. A youth was saying to me, is this correct? And I was saying, that mere book, An-Najmu Thaqib, that thick, runs into 1,000 pages. And it's available everywhere. I offered him to come to my library, and it is in my library, I can show him, which contains nothing but accounts of people who would have met him. And it is not surprising, because in 14 centuries, how many would he have met? And we have discussed how but those meetings are not for the reason set out in the tawqi, for the person then to be able to claim, I meet the Imam, therefore I am a special deputy, or I have a special contact. He meets him in circumstances that humbles him. He meets him in the circumstances that gives him piety. He meets him in circumstances that teaches him what the strength of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. To create his hujjah in a way in which he is seen in one moment, he is not seen in the second moment, and yet benefits the world at all times. These times therefore are times in which we rely on our ulama. And therefore this doctrine of taqleed is of highest importance. And why? Because as the ulama tell us, in this period then, when there are no special deputies, and we rely on ulama, 3 circumstances arise. Either you know the law yourself, you have studied Quran, and you have studied ahadith, and you have access to ahadith. For example, a question arises on, let us take a modern example, donation of organs. A question arises on donation of organs. Is it allowed that a person should donate his organ? In other words, because we are not allowed to injure ourselves, but can I give one kidney to another person? How do I know what is the answer to it? There is no ayah of Quran expressly on it, but there are ayats of Quran which provide the answer. Do I know them? How do I get these ayats of Quran? I certainly would be totally at a loss. But if you feel you are a person who would be able to know those ayats, you are a person who can find out a hadith, what did the sixth Imam alayhi salam say on this point? What is the guidance? You have access to those hadiths, you can dig out the hadith, you can dig out the hadith and are able to find an answer to it. Fine, you don't have to do taqleed at all. You ask yourself, find your answer yourself and follow a truthful answer that you have got for yourself, doing your best and in all honesty. In all honesty, if you feel that is the true answer, having made your legitimate and diligent research, that is your answer and you don't need to do taqleed at all. But how many of us can do this today? The second is a person who does not want to do taqleed, so he does not need to do taqleed. Then what he should do is, and he does not have the kind of knowledge I just mentioned, he can say, well, I will do ihtiyat. I will find out if I want to know whether this action is halal or haram. I will find out what do the leading marajih say, and I will do what is ihtiyat. If 4 say it is halal, 6 say it is haram, I will not do it. I will play safe. In other words, a person who is prepared to play safe all the time. Are we in that position? Are we in a position to play safe all the time? But first of all, I say to play safe, you've got to know what they are saying. Do we have the time to go around finding out what they are saying? Times have changed, and there are many demands on us today, from morning till evening. And the youths have got to go to universities and they've got to get their degrees. There is no choice out of it. It is no use saying you must only learn religious knowledge and not acquire worldly knowledge. Those days are totally gone. And if we were told that, we were being misled. There is today no choice except that every Shia boy must be an educated person. And there are no two ways about it. And it is no longer enough to have 1 degree. We are already in days in which we certainly need 2 degrees to be able to compete in this world of these times. Where is then the time to find out what these ulamas are saying? But the third choice, I say, is the easiest. Do taqleed. Follow the marja who is generally regarded as a'lam. But then the youth says, how do we know that he is a'lam? My simple answer is, God forbid if you had a heart attack, you don't know who is the best cardiac surgeon in Bombay today or in the world, because you have money to be able to go to United States or to be able to go to other countries for your cardiac surgery. But you always find out there is no person in our community who needs a cardiac surgery and has not made quick research, because after all, how many cardiac surgeons are there even in the world of that eminence? You pick up 5-6 names and you pick them up quite easily. You pick them up from various centers and you say, this is the man who I want to fiddle with my heart. There is nothing more precious in our bodies than the heart, and yet we are able to leave it in the hands of that person, having made research and having been satisfied that he is the right man. In exactly that way, we find out who is the leading marja of the time, who is the most learned. Why this most learned thing? Because it is common sense that if there are 10 ulama, you don't want to follow the one who is least learned. Common sense dictates that we follow one who is most learned, because the one who is most learned is likely to give us the best guidance. And hence I say that these whispers that we hear today, that there is no need to do taqleed, I keep asking them the moment they tell me this, if there is no need to do taqleed, how will you know what is halal, what is haram? Are you in a position to help yourselves? These are whisperings that shaitan creates. It is disgraceful again, but it is great pity that people in our own community, in amongst us Shias ourselves, are raising these and they turn around and say, but these ulama, they are not honest, they are doing this, that and the other. I say, well, the moment you feel a particular alim is not honest, you can't do his taqleed. You can't do his taqleed, because you only do taqleed when you are satisfied about the taqwa. Ilm is not enough. And that is a criterion set out by the 11th Imam alayhi salam, which I have discussed with you last year. 4 criteria. He must have knowledge, of course. Secondly, he must have taqwa. Thirdly, he must be a person, and this is a must, he must be a person who gives priority to principle over his hawa. Hawa is the word the Imam Askari alayhi salam used. He gives priority to principle over his own wishes. He might have his own prejudices, but when he gives a fatwa, he must be a person who overrides his prejudice by principle and gives his fatwa on principle alone. It is only that kind of a person who can be a mujtahid, a marja of the time. So it is no use saying we do not get proper receipts. If you do not get proper receipts, if you are not satisfied that his machinery is being governed with taqwa, that there is integrity, there is honesty, you cannot follow him, you leave him. He's not the only one there. But for God's sake, do not hastily abandon this doctrine of taqleed, because the problem is once you abandon the doctrine of taqleed, then how will you go? Do not be like sheep and goats who are just running around in a forest not knowing what their destination is. We are shears of immaculate Imams alayhimus salam, and they have not left us without guidance. And I would say that if you really are in that state, recite this istighatha that we talked about 2 nights back, and I can assure you, I can almost swear that the Imam alayhi salam will definitely help, and you will miraculously find ways whereby you are on the right path, you are following the right person and getting the correct rulings on Islam, because Allah does not abandon anybody. He did not create us to leave us unguided. This is why 124,000 prophets, all these books, and He will not leave us unguided even today. We will get the guidance we want, and we will get the guidance through Him who has kept the hujjah, His hujjah of the time. It is through that hujjah that our hajats are fulfilled. As you know, every Thursday evening our amals go to Him, and He looks at our amals and prays for us. If He prays for us looking at our amals, will He not guide us in these difficult circumstances? But I am open to question on this. Day after tomorrow, as I said, 8:15 p.m. question and answer program. Let us discuss any issue that you think is of importance and talk it over between us openly, so that these issues are threshed out in these times, which are indeed delicate times. But tonight is a special night for us. A special night because it is the eve of Ashura. And it is the night on which the Imam alayhi salam sought that night. And this is what I want to touch on before I go into Shahadat of Shahzad Ali Asghar alayhi salam. He sought this night. Why did he seek this night? It is important for us to bear that in mind. Of course, we want to spend this night in azar. We want to curse those who killed Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And undoubtedly, great major part of the night must be spent in azab of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, because it is a night when he was bidding farewell to everybody. But he sought this night so that nusalli li rabbi wa nad'uh, so that I say salah. He actually used that word nusalli. I say prayers, and he actually recited prayers, recited salah on this night. And the whole night in that camp there was prayer. Indeed, when Hamid ibn Muslim, a reporter of Yazid, is asked, how was that night passed? He said, you could see 2 wings. You could see from the tents of Imam Hussein alayhi salam the voices of recitation of Quran, recitation of dua, and you could see people in ruku and in sujood, and indeed their voices were coming out like humming of the bees. And on the other hand, you saw merrymaking, music, dances, and intoxicating liquor. He says that in the camp of Yazid. And you could see exactly how the two were divided. Hence, one little word I want to say to the roots tonight is, one of the amals tonight is 100 rakat namaz. As you know, I'm not saying anything new, you know this, and inshallah you have been reciting this namaz for years. In each rakat, after alhamd, 3 times Surah Ikhlas. But Surah Ikhlas is what, 5 seconds? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Qul Allahu Samad, Lam Yalid, Wa Lam Yulad, Wa Lam Yakun Lahu Kufuwan Ahad. 5 seconds. slow speaker, 10 seconds. Only 3 times in each rakat, 100 rakat. Do not miss that namaz. I know there are many namaz, there are 4, 5 of them, and great emphasis on namaz al-shab, which I have spoken of also a couple of nights back. But do the 100 rakats, I say, because age passes, and it passes very quickly. Do not wait to recite 400 rakat namaz in old age, because you will not be able to recite in old age. Your knees will be paining, your ankle will be paining. May Allah keep you all in good health to the last day. But how can we trust old age? Old age is one time we cannot trust at all, because the limbs may not be working. It may be the legs are working, the hands are not working, you cannot stand up from in bihawlillah, or there is a heart problem. May Allah keep us all in good health to the last day. But these things do happen. We see it happening all the time. There might be all kinds of problems which stop us from reciting namaz. Dua, you can sit and recite. Quran, you can sit and recite. Namaz has its own procedures, standing, bowing, ruku, sujood. Will we be able to do it? Allah has provided us this opportunity. Who knows whether we can do it next night of Ashura or not. Do not miss those 100 rakat. And do not miss those 100 rakat only for the reason that Imam Hussain alayhi salam spent this night reciting salah. And if we follow that action of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, tonight we will indeed obtain the thawab of Shab Ashur, because Shab Ashur has its own significance. I have recited once in Rizwi on this night how Shab Ashur is comparable indeed to Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Ashur is indeed comparable to Laylatul Qadr. So do not let that night go, and do not, as much as you do not let 100 rakat go on Laylatul Qadr and you recite them, do not let 100 rakat namaz go tonight, because the Imam alayhi salam recited it, and indeed also was bidding farewell to all his companions. Indeed, a time came when the Imam alayhi salam was now all alone. Abbas had gone, Akbar had gone, Qasim had gone, Muhammad had gone, all his friends had gone. He alone now on his horseback in Karbala starts announcing, Hal min nasirin yansuruna, Hal min mu'inuna. Is there anybody to help us in this condition in which I am now all alone? Is there any person to give me any aid at all? And suddenly he hears in his ears a small whisper which says, Labbaik ya Abi Labbaik, I am still alive, oh my father, I am alive. Imam Hussain alayhi salam knew this is Asghar. He comes back to the tent and tells Asghar's mother, make Asghar ready, I will take him to the enemies. So the mother says, why will you take him there? He is a 6-month child. He says, maybe somebody will give him water. Asghar is in a state in which he has already thrown himself from the cradle, you say, and has not had water for all these days. Rabab says, I will obey your orders. You are not only my husband, you are also my imam. But I know whoever has been taken to them, whoever has gone to that battlefield has been martyred. Nobody will come away alive. We will lose Asghar as well. The Imam alayhi salam says, I will make hujjah, I will make an attempt. In case that happens, I will not be blamed tomorrow that I did not tell them there was Asghar alive, 6 months old child. And the mother says, very well. Indeed, she prepares Asghar, and having prepared Asghar, even ties a small sword around his waist, says, Asghar, your grandfather was an eminent warrior. You are going to the battlefield, carry your sword with you, and you do your battle. May Allah reward Rabab for all this patience, the way in which he helped the Imam alayhi salam in that cause and handed over Asghar to him. The Imam alayhi salam comes and shows Asghar to the people. They started weeping. Those those heartless people started weeping and started saying to Umar ibn Sa'd, why can't Asghar have water? Hussein may not have water, why can't Asghar have water? And you would have thought at least Asghar would be given water. When the Imam saw that, he left Asghar on the ground. This was a desert. It was midday now. It was hot sun and a hot desert. Yet he left the child there so that his child could get some water. What a father will do for a son. Indeed, he kept him there saying, if you don't want to give me water, just give him water. And they did not do so that either. Umar ibn Sa'd turns to Hurmala and says, Iqta' kalam al-Hussein, tear Hussein's words into pieces. And Hurmala starts preparing his bow and arrow. 3 times the arrow fell. Umar ibn Sa'd comes to him and says, Hurmala, what has happened? And we get this hadith from Hurmala himself. Indeed, it was Mukhtar in the court of Mukhtar, and we've already discussed this also. In the court of Mukhtar, Mukhtar asked Hurmala, saying, Hurmala, tell me something about how you killed Asghar, because we want to have a majlis on that in this particular court of mine before I murder you. And we get this episode from Hurmala himself. He said 3 times it fell. Umar ibn Sa'd comes to ask me, and I told him the truth, that every time I put my arrow into the bow and I want to shoot it, I see a black veil on the door. On the door of the tent of Hussein. I said to myself, this must be the mother of Asghar. This is the mother of Asghar. How would she be feeling when I'm murdering a 6-month-old child? Ultimately, Umar ibn Sa'd said, oh Hurmala, there is no archer superior to you, and I want to see you through this with this. So I did ultimately pull a straight one, and that particular arrow hit Shehzad Ali Asghar alayhi salam. In the words of the 4th Imam, it penetrated min al-udhuni ila al-udhun. It penetrated into one ear and it came out through another ear. So you can see this little child was already torn off altogether. Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Can you appreciate his position now? With this little child in hand, with that particular arrow right piercing through him, he removes the arrow. Blood comes out. He holds the blood in his hands, tries to throw it towards heavens. The heavens say, if one drop of this blood reaches us, there will be no water to the day of judgment. Tries to throw it on the ground. The ground says one drop and not a grain to the day of judgment. What is Hussein to do? He couldn't have left us without water. He couldn't have left us without food. He takes that blood, applies on his beard, and says, with the blood of Asghar, I will meet my grandfather. But now he takes the Asghar to the tent. How is he to hand over Asghar to the mother? Hussein is now, for the first time, sensing a sense of failure. He goes forward and comes backwards. He doesn't have the heart to take Asghar's body and hand over to the mother. He keeps repeating, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, ridham biqadahi wa tasliman li amri. When you do that amal tomorrow, remember that condition of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. In what state the Imam alayhi salam was. Ultimately, he takes courage and takes the body to Bibi Rabab alayhi salam. When Rabab gets the body, she knows what has happened, looks at the Imam alayhi salam. The Imam can't tell her anything. There are no words to be said to a mother of a darted 6-month child. The Imam just removes the covering he had put on the face of Asghar. And when Rabab sees that face of Asghar, all she says is, Amithluka Yanaru. Do they even massacre? Do they even kill a child of your age? Indeed, then the mother and the father for the first time dig a grave. When have you heard a mother digging a grave for a son? Rabab had to go through that also. That grave was dug, and for the first time Imam alayhi salam buried one of his companions, one of his children in that grave. But alas, that was was not to happen on that day of 11th of Muharram. Rabab sees the head of Asghar on the spear, says, Asghar, your father took so much trouble to bury you, they would not let you sleep. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة.